Twitch loved to be the light in everyone's lives, and then Steven liked to hide away. Those are very two different personalities that were battling each other any given day. And we would talk about that in interviews, that he very much admitted that that was going on. And I think as I was with him for so long, and that's how he's been the entire relationship, I was like, it's a beautiful thing that he can be both. But then when you start stepping away from the new fact of what's happened, I look at that, I was like, wait, what if I would have made him feel safe, or with therapy, he could have felt safe to be him all the time? And what if he felt safe being this one individual that has different kind of energies? But you don't have to be a completely different person and put them aside from each other.
Okay, y'all, let's talk about how one of the most loved dancers in the world suddenly passed away, and now somehow we've got Diddy, Ellen, and even a shoebox full of secrets in the middle of this crazy mess. Twitch, real name Steven Boss, was full of energy and always had that big smile. He wasn't just a dancer, he was a husband, father, and a major part of The Ellen Show. So when news broke in December 2022 that he passed away by suicide in a motel, fans were shocked. It just didn't make sense. Then came his wife. Allison didn't seem to wait long before taking legal steps. Just days after his demise, she filed paperwork to gain control over his estate, claiming he didn't have a will. And then came the real twist. She told the courts he owned no property when they got married. That meant everything he earned later, including TV paychecks, investments, and rights, would go to her. The speed and detail of that filing didn't feel like grief, it felt like business. Now, I'm not saying everything's a conspiracy, but once people started watching how Allison acted after his demise, it didn't sit right with a lot of folks.
I'm starting this new chapter where I'm really gonna be finding the best version of who I am, and not the best version of who I was with Steven or with my past traumas even before Steven, outside of being a mom, outside of being a career woman, outside of writing a book, outside of this, like who am I just existing right now?
Now let's be real. When someone you love passes away, most people aren't rushing to go through their stuff, let alone run and tell the world what they found. But that's exactly what Allison did. She claimed she discovered a stash of substances in Twitch's belongings, and without any real proof, she suggested he was secretly struggling with addiction. And just when people were trying to process that, she's out here sharing pages from his private journal. Instead of quietly mourning or protecting her husband's memory, she started handing out journal entries to the press, super personal stuff, and not just to grieve, but to support this whole new story she was building, one where Twitch had deep emotional issues and hidden demons. The reaction was not what she expected. Fans were hurt, confused, and a little disgusted. A lot of people felt like she crossed a line, airing out someone's private pain just days after they passed. Even worse, Twitch's own family started calling her out. Word was, some relatives believed she was twisting the story to protect herself, not him. They felt like Allison was trying to shift the narrative, making him look unstable so she wouldn't be questioned later on. Now here's where things start to feel shady. Not only is she sharing all this sensitive stuff, but at the same time, she's preparing to launch a book. Yup, Allison had a book coming, and suddenly all this drama was making her the center of attention. So people started connecting the dots, and let's be honest, if you really loved someone, would your first move be to reveal their deepest secrets for the world to judge? Probably not. That's why a lot of people believed this wasn't just grief. It didn't feel like healing, it felt like manipulation. But here's the real question, why was she working so hard to change the story? What was she trying to hide? In her petition, she claimed Twitch didn't own any assets before they got married in 2013. But let's break that down. By the time they tied the knot, Twitch had already built a name for himself. He'd been on So You Think You Can Dance, worked on movies like Step Up, and was already a part of The Ellen Show. You're telling us all that success added up to nothing? She basically said he had zero before the marriage, which meant everything he earned during the relationship would legally fall under shared property. And if he had no will, that gave her the legal right to claim it all. So she wasn't just asking for a portion, she wanted control over all his royalties, investments, and any income still coming in from past projects. Most people are still trying to get out of bed or even breathe after losing a spouse, but here she was, filing papers and getting signatures. It felt like a checklist. That's when the whispers started. Was Twitch's death really unexpected, or had something else been going on behind the scenes?
I just wanted to say the past 11 days have been really tough for everyone. But to honor Twitch, I think the best thing that we can do is to laugh and hug each other.
For years, Ellen and Twitch looked like the perfect duo. She brought him on as a DJ, then a co-host, and eventually made him an executive producer on The Ellen DeGeneres Show. See, it wasn't just a professional relationship. Ellen really trusted Twitch. She made him a central part of her brand. And in Hollywood, that kind of move usually comes with a deeper connection or deeper access. Then some people dug up old clips from Ellen's past. One in particular raised eyebrows, where she openly joked about attending Diddy's wild parties. But it wasn't just that she went to those events. The way she described them was too relaxed, like she'd been there more than once and maybe even played a bigger role. You could see she knew exactly what went down. That's when the theories started picking up. Was Ellen just a party guest, or was she helping recruit people for these so-called celebrity parties? And then Twitch's name came up in those same circles. People began connecting dots. What if Twitch got pulled into that scene? What if his rise on The Ellen Show came with some sacrifices? Quiet expectations, behind-the-scenes deals, private parties where no phones allowed meant more than just protecting privacy, it meant protecting secrets. It sounds wild at first, but Hollywood's history isn't clean. We've seen this same pattern too many times, and Twitch, he was always going with the flow. That made him the perfect candidate to get swept up without raising flags. Meanwhile, Ellen's show ended under controversy. Multiple staffers accused her of running a toxic workplace. Behind all the happy dancing was a darker, more controlling environment, so if she was capable of hiding that much for that long, it's not hard to believe there was even more being kept quiet. Twitch was there through all of that, right by her side. He didn't speak out, he didn't push back. But maybe he knew something. Maybe he wanted to step away. But the deeper you dig, the more you realize Ellen wasn't acting alone. Diddy's fingerprints are all over this too.
How much money do you have on you right now?
I don't have any money on me.
You don't carry money on you?
No?
No.
I don't carry money. I mean, it's just a little bit of money on me.
Oh, you do have money on you. Lord have mercy. It's all 20s. Where are you going after this?
You know we doing what we plan to do, girl.
By now, we all know Diddy's name has been in the headlines for some dark reasons, and what connects him to Twitch? Well, let's start here. Diddy and Ellen have been friends for a long time. They run in the same elite circles. If Ellen was going to those special parties, chances are they were hosted or co-hosted by Diddy. So what happens when someone in that circle, like Twitch, decides they've had enough? That's when people believe things took a dark turn. Some rumors say Diddy may have paid Allison Holker to stay quiet to make sure no one looked too deep into what really happened at that motel, and let's not forget, Allison got quick access to Twitch's estate. If Diddy was involved, he wouldn't need to threaten anyone out loud. A simple payment, a call to the right people, a story planted in the media. That's how power works in that world. And look at the bigger picture. Twitch passed away at a motel, not at home, not somewhere peaceful, a random, low-key motel that nobody could really explain. No cameras, no witnesses, just a final note that barely made sense. For someone like Twitch, who was known to keep his family close and his life private, that detail alone felt off. And sadly, this isn't even the first time someone around Ellen met a mysterious end. Let's talk about someone else closely tied to Ellen, Anne Heche. Anne wasn't just a Hollywood actress, she was Ellen's ex, and after their breakup, she said Ellen was obsessed with money, image, and control. Anne even claimed Ellen tried to destroy her life. We're talking serious stuff, allegations of Ellen getting her blacklisted, ruining her chances in Hollywood, and even spreading lies to make people think Anne was mentally unstable. And Anne didn't stay silent. She went public in interviews telling people how Ellen turned on her the moment their relationship ended. She spoke about being isolated, rejected by the industry, and struggling to rebuild her career. Anne even said Ellen tried to get her institutionalized, as in locked up and labeled crazy. Then, out of nowhere, Anne crashes her car into a house in a bizarre accident. The crash was intense. Firefighters said the car was on fire for 45 minutes. Anne was pulled out alive, sat up on the stretcher, and was alert. And suddenly, just days later, she was declared brain dead, just like that. Fans started asking questions immediately. The whole thing felt too strange. No clear reason why she was even driving through that neighborhood. And then there's footage of Anne's body being wheeled into an ambulance, sitting up, and then covered with a white sheet, as if she was already gone. It looked suspicious, and the fact that Anne had just started speaking out again, that made it worse. And here's what really made people stop and think. Anne and Twitch, two people with close ties to Ellen, passed away under shady circumstances. Both were saying things publicly, both were making noise, both ended up in ways that didn't make sense. Now fans are asking, was it all just coincidence, or is something being covered up? Because it's one thing when one person has a tragic end, but when you start seeing a pattern, something starts to feel off. It's the pattern that's setting off alarms. 2 deaths, 2 warnings ignored, and the same name in the middle every time? Ellen DeGeneres. And just when people thought it couldn't get messier, the widow of Twitch dropped her book.
I'm learning that what he experienced, I want to be an example of now and show other people they can do it.
Allison Hulker put out a book called This Far. At first glance, it looks like a tribute, but when you read it, it feels more like a rewrite of the whole story. She paints Twitch as someone battling long-term addiction, like he'd been secretly struggling for years, hiding his pain. She talks about the demons he was facing, but that didn't sit right with a lot of people, especially those who were actually close to him. Right after Twitch passed, Allison made everyone sign NDAs. No one could talk about what happened, not even some family members. Some of Twitch's cousins and even longtime friends said Allison wasn't the victim. They called her toxic, emotionally abusive, and obsessed with fame. They say she used Twitch to boost her brand and clout. One director who worked with Twitch even posted publicly. He said Allison was never genuine, that she would push Twitch to work when he was burned out, that she'd show up on set more interested in being seen than supporting him. Now there are whispers that the police are quietly reopening the case because of new details. And rumors say Allison could be in real legal trouble if things keep coming out. And if what people are saying is true, we're just scratching the surface of something way bigger. So stick around because the truth always finds a way out.